Good morning. This is John from the Springs Mennonite Church. I want to finish up this week of talking about what do you do in times of trouble. And the verse I have today comes from the Psalms, Psalm chapter 9 and verses 9 and 10. So let's hear what it says. The Lord is a shelter for the oppressed, a refuge in times of trouble. Those who know your name trust in you. For you, O Lord, do not abandon those who search for you. Well, if we want to talk about what do you do in times of trouble, this verse does it. It even says so. A refuge in times of trouble. Now, as I've said earlier this week, you and I are going to have troubles. That's just the way it is. You can't live in this world and not have troubles. Now, I know some people, it seems like they've had trouble after trouble after trouble after trouble. And my heart breaks for them. It's like, God, please give them a break. They need some space to recover before the next thing hits. And I really thought that they had that. And then boom, something came out of the blue. And here they go again. I wish I could take their place. Not that I want to experience the difficulties, but I'd like to give them some space, some time to see more than what they keep facing over and over and over again. And perhaps you're in that same boat or a similar boat. So it says here, the Lord is a shelter. What is a shelter? Well, the other night we had some pretty big storms around our place. Lots of lightning, lots of wind. In fact, it was still light when they first came, and my wife and I were watching the trees. And I don't know if you've ever noticed, but the wind has incredible power. I watched some of these trees bend, and I wasn't sure how they didn't break. I mean, they moved, these massive hardwood trees. They moved 30 or 40 feet at the top. Well, Faith and I decided it's time to go inside. And if we want to keep looking, we'll look out the window. We sought shelter. Now, when we lived in Alabama and there were tornadoes, we really sought shelter. Because when those things come around, there's nothing you can do but find a safe place and get in it. Excuse me. Well, that's what God is, what this is talking about. A place of shelter. When times get really bad, where do you go? Well, I know some people that go to anger. Oh, they take it out on everybody. Even if they don't mean to. They're just so troubled. They don't seem to know what else to do. Well, here's an alternative. The Lord is your shelter. Kind of like how maybe you've seen some of these animal pictures where the mother does these incredible things to protect their young. God does incredible things to protect you and me. Now, like the animal picture, sometimes the mom isn't strong enough. It doesn't work out. Well, in our case, it's not that God isn't strong enough. It's just that we live in a sinful world. And in this sinful world, people do bad things. If somebody decides to take out a gun, come into the office this morning and shoot me, and not much I can do about it. I don't have a gun here to protect myself. If I wouldn't, even if I had a gun. I don't have a bulletproof door. Oh, I could lock the door, but by the time I got there, a person would have come through and I'd be toast. But yet, in the midst of that, even those horrible circumstances, God is our shelter. We can go to him. It says we can know that we can trust him. For God does not abandon those who search for him. How do you search for God? Well, I guess you could look him up on the internet. I don't know what you'd find. I never tried that. But most of us have to search for God in the loneliness of ourselves. And the way I do it is I try to get quiet and I try to listen. You know, there is something about meditation. I'm not talking about Far Eastern religion meditation, but the Bible has a lot to say about meditation. Meditation is centering yourself, getting rid of all the extraneous noise, and just relax and listen. And in those moments, God has often spoken to me. In those moments, God has often reassured me. Now, sometimes I want to say I don't hear anything, but what I do is I feel something. My son told me one time, years after the fact, he said, "You know, Dad, the thing I remember when I was growing up is I had broken up with," he named the girl, his first girlfriend. He said, "I was outside sitting on the porch swing, and he said, you came out and you sat down beside me, and you never said a word. You just put your arm around me, and you sat with me." He said, "That's the most meaningful thing I can recall." Well, golly, I didn't mean to do anything special, but yet I ministered to him without saying a word. And often God will minister to us by his presence. We just feel that we're not alone. And that whatever happens, I'm not there fighting it all by myself. That's what this passage is talking about. Let me read it again. The Lord is a shelter for the oppressed, a refuge in times of trouble. Those who know your name trust in you, for you, O Lord, do not abandon those who search for you. These are words that can guide us in times of trouble. It can make all the difference in the world. And I hope the next time you find yourself struggling, you'll try them. Get real quiet. Talk to God and listen and just wait. He'll be there. That's a promise. Not from me, from him. Thanks for listening. Hope you have a wonderful weekend. If you have a need or a concern, let us know. We'll do everything we can as fast as we can to help meet your need. Thanks so much for listening. You take care. I'll be back on Monday with another set of ideas. God bless you.